The Kralvesh war cruiser hung in the darkness above Mars like a diseased moon, its hull pulsing with bioluminescent veins that cast sickly green light across the red planet's surface. Inside the ship's detention bay, former Navy SEAL Jack Morrison crouched in the shadows, his breath steady despite the alien atmosphere that burned his lungs with each inhalation. "Contact in 30 seconds, Emma Chun's voice crackled through his neural implant, barely audible over the ship's organic heartbeat thrumming through the walls. She was 3 decks below, her fingers dancing across a stolen Kralvesh interface terminal, unraveling their security protocols, one encrypted layer at a time. Jack's jaw tightened as he watched the detention cells through his scope. Inside each translucent pod floated a human child, suspended in amber-colored gel, their small bodies wired to machines that hummed with alien technology. The Kralvesh had taken them during the first wave rip from schools, playgrounds, and bedrooms across Earth. They called it harvesting. The Kralvesh had discovered that young human minds possessed a unique quantum coherence, a peculiarity of evolution that made them perfect. Biological processors for the Empire's vast computational networks. His daughter had been among the first taken. 7 years old, with her mother's dark eyes and a laugh that could light up a room. That was 18 months ago. 18 months of the Kralvesh treating humanity like cattle, like a resource to be exploited. The galactic community had expressed concern through official channels. The Kralvesh Empire, one of the 5 great powers spanning 100 star systems, had simply ignored them. They should have paid attention to what humanity did when diplomacy failed. 10 seconds, Emma whispered. Jack had known. Emma, since the military formed Task Force, Prometheus, humanity's answer to an enemy that outgunned them in every conventional way. She had been a civilian xenobiologist before the invasion, studying alien physiology with academic detachment. That detachment had died the day the Kralvesh took her nephew. Now she was something else entirely, a weapon wrapped in human skin, her brilliant mind bent toward a single purpose. The detention bay door hissed open. A Kralvesh guard shuffled through, its 6 legs carrying its bulbous body with surprising grace. Its compound eyes swept the chamber. Searching for threats, it had been trained to recognize energy signatures, thermal anomalies, the standard markers of alien infiltration. It never thought to look for someone who'd been hiding in plain sight for 16 hours. Someone who'd slowed their metabolism to near hibernation levels using techniques learned in the frozen mountains of Afghanistan. Adapted for an alien warship, Jack's blade found the soft junction where the Kralvesh's primary neural cluster met its thorax. The creature's death was silent, a mercy Jack didn't feel it deserved. He caught the body before it could trigger the pressure-sensitive floor panels. "I'm in the system," Emma announced. "Downloading the children's locations, Jack. There are thousands. Not just ours. They've been doing this across a dozen species." His hands moved with practiced efficiency, attaching the extraction charges to each detention pod. The human-designed devices would flood the pods with oxygen-rich saline, flush the alien sedatives, and crack them open without harming the occupants. Behind him, more footsteps, his team materializing from the shadows like vengeful ghosts. Maria Torres, former Delta Force, Dmitry Volkov, Spetsnaz, Yuki Tanaka, JSDF Special Operations Group. They'd all lost someone. They'd all volunteered for a mission that was supposed to be suicide. "Emma," Jack subvocalized. "What about the command deck?" A pause. "Then, I've got access to their Ansible network. Jack, their entire command structure is linked through this ship. Every fleet admiral, every planetary governor, they're all connected through a quantum entanglement network that runs through this cruiser's core." Jack felt something cold settle in his chest. The mission parameters had been clear: extract the children, escape, survive if possible. But Emma's tone carried a different weight now, the weight of opportunity. "How many children can we save if we just run?" he asked quietly. "The ones here. Maybe a few hundred? And if we take the network?" Another pause, longer. "We could cripple their command structure. Send a signal that humanity won't be prey." "But Jack, the ship's core is surrounded by guards." And once we start the extraction, we'll have minutes before their fleet responds. Through the transparent deck plating above, Jack could see the distant blue marble of Earth. Somewhere down there, humanity was building weapons, training soldiers, preparing for a war they were mathematically certain to lose. The Kralvesh Empire had conquered 100 worlds. They had technology that seemed like magic. They had numbers that blotted out stars, but they'd made one critical mistake. They'd assumed that humanity would follow the rules of civilized warfare, that they would respect the established galactic conventions about proportional response and acceptable casualties, that they would negotiate, plead, and eventually submit like every other species had before them. They hadn't understood what humanity became when you took their children. "Change of plans," Jack said, his voice carrying across the tactical channel to his team. "We're not just here for extraction anymore. Emma, guide us to the core. Maria, Dmitri, Yuki, prep the big package." The big package was a human innovation, a weapon that combined human nuclear technology with stolen Kralvesh quantum destabilization principles. It wouldn't just destroy the ship. It would create a cascading failure across their entire Ansible network, decapitating the Empire's command structure in a single stroke. It was the kind of weapon that violated a dozen galactic conventions, the kind of weapon that would make humanity pariahs. Among civilized species, Jack didn't care. The detention pods began to crack open, children gasping as they tasted real air for the first time in months. Some cried. Some reached for their rescuers with desperate hands. Jack wanted to comfort them, to promise them it would be okay. Instead, he turned toward the ship's core, his weapon ready. "You took our children first," he whispered, knowing the ship's bioacoustic sensors would carry his words to the Kralvesh command deck, knowing they would finally understand the enemy they'd made. "Now we're taking your empire." Behind him, Emma's voice was steady, professional, transformed by purpose into something sharp and unbreakable. "Uploading the virus now. Quantum network compromised. Jack, we're committed." "Good," he replied. "Let them see what happens when they underestimate us. Let every species in this galaxy know you can take our worlds, our resources, our dignity, but touch our children." He chambered around, the familiar sound grounding him in what came next, "and we'll burn your empire to ashes." The war that followed would be written about for millennia. But it began here, in the darkness between Mars and Earth, with a handful of humans who refused to accept that might made right. Who taught the galaxy that humanity's greatest weapon wasn't technology or numbers. It was what we became when we had nothing left to lose.